Hi, I'm Tom, and this is Canon's 28 to 80 millimeter mid-range zoom kit lens from the 1990s, and I'm going to review it for you. In terms of build quality, as you would expect, this lens is very light and very plasticky. It uses, plastic mount, and everything about it feels very light, and it doesn't feel like the most robust lens out there. This was a kit lens that was designed for, the most budget friendly cameras that Canon put out there. So it wasn't made to be, necessarily the same level of build quality as some of their higher end lenses, or any of them. So in terms of the image quality of this lens, which is of course the most important thing, I wouldn't say that it's the sharpest lens out there, but it still takes reasonably sharp photos if you make sure to not shoot it wide open. And also it's sharper towards the middle, so around 50 millimeters, that's where it's sharpest, and towards sort of the middle apertures. One thing about this lens is that the aperture varies depending on what focal length you have it set to. So the wider you have it set to, then the better the maximum aperture will be, which is 3.5 at the widest, which is still not that wide. And then the widest it goes at 80 millimeters is only 5.6. So you won't be getting really good bokeh with this lens, and it's not a great portrait lens really, but it can be good for sort of general purpose photography, and as a travel lens, stuff like that. I think it works pretty reasonably well for considering the price. So in terms of image quality, this lens, the aperture ranges from 3.5 at 28 millimeters to 5.6 at 80 millimeters. So it's not a very low light friendly lens, and you're going to want to make sure to have decent lighting when you use this lens, otherwise it won't really be able to focus, and even if it does, you would not be able to handhold the lens. You would need a tripod, and there's no image stabilization built in. So I would recommend using this lens only in brighter situations and not in low light unless you have a tripod. This lens is sharper at 50 millimeters or so, and it's also sharper if you don't shoot at the maximum aperture. So you would go one or two stops less than that, and you'll get sharper photos. There's also some barrel distortion when it is at the 28 millimeter side of things, and there's also some vignetting as well, but it's not extreme, but it will be there, so that's just something to be aware of. So I'll give you a closer look at the lens here. So there's the familiar autofocus or manual focus switch, and you can see that as you change the focal length, it sort of does this backwards and forwards motion. It is most compact around 50 millimeters, and then it jets out a bit more at 80 millimeters and 28 millimeters. So now I'll show you how the lens works for videos. So this is the lens being used for video. I'm videoing this right now with the lens, and it's doing a fine job set on 28 millimeters. It is being used with a crop sensor DSLR. The thing that I would mention here is to only use this camera for video with an external mic, or a directional mic that will not end up picking up the sound of the lens autofocusing, because it is somewhat noisy, and if the microphone is picking up sounds very close to the camera, then it's going to get in the video and kind of disrupt the video a bit. As far as recommendations, I would recommend this lens to someone who doesn't have any other kit lens. If you already have an 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens, then you probably don't need this. It would the extra little bit of telephoto range, it's probably not worth getting this lens for, unless you really want a mid-range zoom. But you might prefer to have an 18 to 55 and then a 55 to 200. But if you only want one kit zoom, then I think this is a good choice for that. And you should be able to generally get it for somewhere between $40 to $60. So in a few moments I'll show you some sample photos that I've taken with the lens, and thanks for watching to the end, and don't forget to subscribe. Take care, and I'll see you next time.